Okay, so have you ever felt like you're just like swimming against the tide?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
like every day it just brings a new wave of challenges.
Totally.
Yeah, we've all been there. And so today, we're diving into something that might actually surprise you.
Huh?
We're going to be looking at a prayer about finding strength and resilience in tough times.
Okay.
But hold on. We're not getting preachy here.
Right.
Think of it more like reverse engineering resilience.
I like that.
You know, we've got this faith-boosting prayer,
Okay.
and we're going to kind of break down its structure and its themes to see what we can learn about facing those waves, head on.
Right.
So one thing that that struck me right away was how this prayer starts.
Okay.
It's called the opening affirmation.
Okay.
And it's all about acknowledging something bigger than yourself and surrendering your worries.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's almost like saying, okay, I'm not in control of everything, and that's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
What are your thoughts on that kind of approach?
Well, you know what's so fascinating is that this idea of surrender, of letting go of control, comes up in so many different contexts, even outside of religion.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Think about it like this. When you're dealing with, let's say, a job search, I mean, that can be so incredibly stressful, right?
Can be, yeah.
But if you can kind of surrender the outcome, let go of that need to control every single detail, it actually can be really freeing.
Oh, interesting.
You know, it allows you to focus on what you can control, like how well you prepare for interviews, how you're networking, putting your best foot forward, all that good stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a really helpful way to look at it.
I think so.
It's like shifting your focus.
Yeah.
From the things that you can't change to the things that you can.
Exactly.
And speaking of focus, this prayer then kind of moves into a section called daily intention,
Okay.
where it talks about choosing faith, peace, and hope. It's almost like setting a positive intention for the day.
Right. I would agree with that. Yeah.
Like we know from research that the language we use, even internally,
Yes.
can have a really powerful effect on our mindset.
Oh, absolutely. It really does. It's like you're choosing your emotional armor for the day.
Yeah, I
Like that. If you start your day by telling yourself, today's going to be a good day, you're so much more likely to kind of notice the positive things that are happening.
Yeah.
And to approach the challenges with just a better attitude.
Yeah.
And, choosing to focus on faith, peace, and hope. I mean, those are pretty powerful anchors, I think, when things get tough.
Yeah.
I
love that. Choosing your emotional armor.
Yeah.
Some days you need the full suit.
That's right.
Other days, maybe just a shield.
Yeah, exactly.
But what's interesting is this prayer doesn't just stop at intentions.
Oh,
it goes on to emphasize mental and spiritual discipline, focusing thoughts and meditating on scripture.
Interesting.
It sounds a lot like mindfulness practices or even some cognitive behavioral therapy techniques.
It really does. It's true. The idea of actively choosing what you're thinking about, focusing on, what empowers you, I mean, that is central to so many therapeutic approaches.
Right.
I mean, meditating on scripture in this context could almost be seen as like a form of focused attention, kind of similar to mindfulness.
Okay.
It's about training your mind to stay present, to, resist getting swept away by those anxieties and worries.
Right. So we've got this letting go of control, setting positive intentions,
Yeah.
and actively managing our thoughts.
That's right.
But then this prayer also talks about acknowledging a higher plan, even when things are tough.
Interesting.
Yeah. And there's a section called acknowledgement of God's role.
Okay.
I'm curious, how do you see this idea of a higher plan playing out in people's lives, even if they don't subscribe to a specific religion?
Yeah, that's a really great question, and it ties into something called meaning making.
Meaning making. Okay.
Yeah. And it's not about denying how difficult a situation is. It's more about trying to understand it in like a larger context.
Okay.
So when we are facing adversity, finding meaning in what we're going through, even if it's hard, can be such a powerful way to cope.
Right.
It's kind of like, when you experience a setback in a project,
Yeah.
instead of just seeing it as a total failure, you might reframe it as a learning opportunity,
Yeah.
that ultimately is going to make the project stronger.
Right. Yeah, it's about finding that silver lining, that lesson learned.
Exactly.
It's not always easy,
Yeah.
but it can definitely help you move forward. And this prayer doesn't even stop there. It goes on to these really powerful declarations of purpose and transformation.
Okay.
Yeah. It's about believing you can overcome, that you can actually grow through adversity. What do you think about that?
Well, it's almost like, tapping into that incredible resilience of the human spirit.
Wow.
There's actually a concept called post-traumatic growth,
Really?
where people actually find themselves, stronger, wiser, even more compassionate after going through something incredibly difficult.
Hmm.
Think about it. Have you ever known someone who's gone through a major challenge, a really major challenge, and come out the other side even more resilient, more empathetic?
I have.
You have?
Yeah.
Well, that's post-traumatic growth in action.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
It is. It's inspiring to see how people can not only survive, but actually thrive after hardship.
Yeah, it's really incredible.
And this prayer ultimately kind of culminates in a closing affirmation of submission to God's will,
Okay.
which is all about acceptance and trusting the unknown. That can feel like a really tough ask sometimes.
Oh, it absolutely can. But surrender, in this context, isn't about giving up.
Okay.
It's more about acknowledging that we just can't control everything
Right.
and choosing to trust in a process larger than ourselves, whether that's faith, the universe, or simply the flow of life. It can bring a sense of peace. It's about releasing that burden of trying to force outcomes.
It's like taking a deep breath and trusting that things will unfold as they should.
Exactly. Yeah.
And finally, the prayer ends with this beautiful closing thought, reminding you that you're not alone, that strength is available. We've covered so much ground today. What are your thoughts?
We really have. And what's so fascinating about all this is that even if someone doesn't come from a religious background, there's still so many takeaways here.
Really?
Oh, I think so. The importance of intention setting, finding meaning in difficulty, trusting in something larger than yourself. It's all about cultivating that inner strength.
Exactly. It's like a blueprint for building resilience.
Yeah, I agree.
No matter what challenges you're facing. So, listener, what stands out to you from all this? What rituals or practices help you stay grounded and hopeful when those waves start crashing in?
That's a great question to ponder. We all have our own sources of strength. Exploring those, understanding what works for you can be an incredibly powerful journey.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks for diving in with us today.
Of course.
We hope this sparks some new ideas for you. Until next time, keep exploring.
Keep exploring.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.